Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where I have with me professional wrestler Mariah Moreno. Hopefully, I got the accent right on that. Hopefully, I did a good job. I'm sure she will correct me at some point, so thank you for being on.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Let me just take this opportunity to tell you thank you for what you're doing. I tell every single podcast interviewer or just basically any interviewer, I let them know that I'm grateful for what they do. And on behalf of the entire professional wrestling world, we are thankful for what you guys all do, the time and the commitment that you guys put into interviewing each and every single one of us professional wrestlers in the world. I mean, you're giving us a platform to share our stories, you're giving us a platform to share basically the experiences that we've gone through. You know what I'm saying? To me, I find it more professionally to be able to share experiences in an interview or in a podcast and actually going on social media and talking about it somewhat. So I'm really grateful to being able to have this podcast with you. Hopefully, maybe one day down the line in the future, we can sit down in person, because that's what I like. Those are the best interviews, is when you're actually having sit downs with people.
So going off of that, because I think that's the perfect place to start, and I would like to acknowledge that I think you really are a role model because
Thank
you have
you.
paved the path for many people as you are one of the first
Yeah.
openly transgender wrestlers out there. And
Mhm.
you are also, I think, the first transgender wrestler champion in the entire
Yes.
wrestling world as well. And so I really do want to talk about that because there are people like Candy Lee and Jamie Senegal and some others who are now starting out, who are now getting attention. And I feel that without you, they wouldn't exist. And so I think that's something that is really, really important to talk about. And this is why I
Hmm.
wanted to interview you because you are that role model and you are that first person to pave the path for everybody
Hmm.
else.
Thank you. I appreciate you for noticing that. I do somewhat feel that the world is kind of forgetting my accomplishments. I even went on social media recently and I talked about all that I've done and accomplished. And I also said that I don't want anything that I've done or accomplished in professional wrestling to go, unheard or unnoticed or even forgotten. Because I literally I dedicated a lot of my time to this business. I bled so much for this business. I've broken bones for this business. I've lost money for this business. I've been embarrassed. I've been shitted on for this business. And I enjoyed every single part of it. So I don't want to call it a legacy, but I don't want what I've made to go unnoticed or forgotten. It really breaks my heart when the girls are being talked about and I don't get mentioned. I'll be honest about that. It does break my heart, but it does really warm me and make me happy to know that the other girls are doing it. Making a name for themselves. Um, just being able to be who they are and wrestle for me is amazing because I didn't know anybody when I started wrestling. I didn't know anybody like me. So I was afraid, and a lot of people were exposed to a wrestler like myself or, with the lifestyle that I have, and didn't understand it, So I faced a lot of hate.
Yeah.
Death threats regularly, and I'm going to say all of this was happening towards the beginning of my career.
Let's talk
So,
about that a little bit. Sorry to interrupt, but
okay.
you came in 2008, 2009, and
I
I want
I
to.
actually came in. Hold on. I came into the business in 2007. I'm sorry. I popped up in this business in 2007 as a valet, and then in 2008 I decided to stop valeting and to start training. And when I had started training, I had to sign a contract that I wasn't going to, that I am not able to, that I'm not, allowed to work for 1 year in professional wrestling because I am committed as a student. They're going to train me and teach me the right way. which is a good thing. And I really appreciate that. At that time, I was like, oh man, like, like I wanted to do shows, and I'm a valet slash manager for this really cool tag team out in SoCal. So I was like, no, I don't want to give that up. But I really wanted to wrestle, so I gave it up. And I made my debut as a professional wrestler in 2009.
So the reason why I bring this up is because 2020 is very different than 2007, 2008, 2009. And so, given who you are and the scene and how it's been not pretty roses, for lack of a better word here, what was the scene like for you and your lifestyle and being transgender and nobody seeing anything like that? Because that's what the wrestling scene was like in many ways, and this was new, for lack of a better word. And so, what was
Yeah.
that like? Because I think it's really important to talk about that.
The first word that pops up in my head, scary. It was very scary. To travel. I've never flown before. I've never traveled on a plane before. It wasn't until wrestling, and my first on the plane experience was with one of my trainers, Angel, the hardcore homo, and two of my trainers actually. It was Angel and Steve Payne. And then there was several other wrestlers who from California went over to the East Coast um, to wrestle. And that was my first experience flying. And then I did that a few times with them. And then after that, I just kind of took off on my own, because when I was going to New York for those shows, they were TV gigs. So that's also another accomplishment for myself. I'm the first to also be on television, and that's something else that I don't get credit for, which is fine. It's fine. That I didn't accomplish on my own. That was, that was given to me. That opportunity was given to me by one of my trainers. Shadow, knock it off. That opportunity was given to me by one of my trainers. He believed in me and was like, you know what, Mariah can do this. And I personally don't think I was ready for TV. um but I ran with it, and it was all over Mexico, all over South America, and all over the East Coast is where it aired on Cosmovision on Saturdays in the afternoon. um I got to do something that I never thought that I would do, and that's cut a promo in Spanish. Mind you, I never trained or practiced to do any of my work in Spanish. I am Mexican, but my Spanish words don't come out clear. So I was just given the camera and a mic, and I ran with it. Um, you know, East Coast Lucha Libre was a Spanish, televised broadcast. So we had to do everything in Spanish, but it was a really cool experience. But it was very scary because here I am. Nobody knows anything about me, or what they know is like, okay, we don't know this person. This person's in our locker room, and we hear this. Is it true? Is it true? We heard the news. It was all over the dirt boards, or whatnot. So I'm in a locker room full of people who probably want to kick my ass, or probably want to hang me or drag me down the street. I don't know. So I was terrified coming into professional wrestling. I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that this was my dream. I felt in my heart that it was my calling. Um, so what I've accomplished, I'm very proud of. I'm very happy, and I'm so proud of the girls that are out there doing it now. Candy Lee, she's such a sweetheart. I don't personally know her, but when I do chat with her, which is very briefly, it's always nothing but smiles. Um,
We're not
let
talking
me
about it. It's
see.
about you. It's all about
Well, oh no,
you.
no, no. But this is about me. This is about me. So this is what I feel, or what I get when I see these girls doing their thing. Nyla Rose, I've been talking to her for many, many years. And she's out there making a name for herself, and she definitely kicked down a door that I've been trying to kick down for 10 years. For 10 years, and I know why I haven't been able to get the opportunity that I've been wanting, or been clawing at, and it's because I have a mouth. I can be a little disrespectful or outspoken, and that's frowned upon in professional wrestling. Um, I tried doing the whole speaking out thing years ago, and that didn't work out on my favor, which I wasn't trying to make it work out, but I was just trying to raise awareness. And during that time, it backfired, and people didn't want anything to do with me for a while. And still to this day, I struggle with people, with people accepting me or wanting to be in my life as a coworker, or even wanting to work with me, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. There's a few people that I probably wouldn't work with either. So just based on their attitude or based on stuff that I see that they're saying, sometimes it could be heartbreaking. And it's like, why would I want to put my body on that line for that person? Why would I want to sell for that person, or make that person look like $1 million? And I'm not the best at what I do. I'm not, but I tell you that I do give everything that I have, and I do have a long road ahead of me as far as training goes and knowing everything about the ring and outside of the ring. I still have quite a ways to go.
Yeah, and let's
Um,
talk a little bit about that because
okay,
one of the cool places you trained and your trainers were at Santino Brothers, and a lot of people know who
correct.
they are and what they do in the school they do. You mentioned you signed a 1 year contract, and obviously you had Angel as a trainer and a few other people. Steve
Mhm.
Payne, I think you mentioned as well.
Yes.
And so
I
what?
had Supreme, rest in peace. One of my favorite ones there.
So
I had Chaos, Mongol. There was BC Killer. There was Robbie Phoenix. There was Rico Dynamite. On top of that, I had the entire roster of Class 101 that was helping me, which is Famous B. Ray Rosas was actually a class after me, but he advanced so quick, he was helping me as well. Um,
So, what was that experience like, and them giving you an opportunity and really giving you a shot,
That
especially
was
during the.
scary. That was scary as well, because I remember, well, a friend, rest in peace, Mike Impact. He directed me to the Santino school, because what happened is I expressed on MySpace that I wanted to be a wrestler, and I love wrestling, and this is my passion. And he some random guy that booked the women's roster from a company called MPWA in Santa Ana. They hit me up and asked me if I wanted to work as a valet, since I had no in-ring experience, but I had a look at that time. I had a very goth look. They really liked my look, and they wanted me to be part of this tag team. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll go ahead and do this gig. I did it a few times. Through that, I got to meet the owner and head trainer, the owner and the head trainer of WPW, which is the owner is Martin. Shout out to him. And the head trainer was I'm not sure if he's not the trainer there now. I don't think so, but Little Cholo. Um, I met them through these shows, because they did a couple of joint shows with MPWA, WPW, and also IWL. So I got to meet a lot of the local talent, working the MPWA shows as a valet. So through that, I connected with them, and I was just told to show up to the MPWA, or basically to the marketplace in Santa Ana, and that we were going to train, because I was expressing to the gentleman that booked the women's roster, the women's matches
Yeah,
from that
yeah, yeah.
MPWA company. I had expressed to him that I wanted to train, because I would eventually like to take some bumps, and kind of make my way into becoming a full-fledged wrestler. So he told me, okay, just be here on this day. And it was a few other people that showed up that I had met at that place. Um, so I trained with little Cholo there, and Super Nino, and a few other people there a couple of times. It was like once, I believe, twice, and then we were there, I think, total of 3 times. But because it was different every time that I went, I was like, I don't know if this is what I'm expecting, out of a professional wrestling school. I wasn't told who to pay. I didn't know. I knew I had to pay somebody. I just didn't know who to pay. Um, I don't want to say it was unorganized, but I don't know. It was just different every time that I went. I went 3 times. So I would listen to podcasts and read books on experiences, from legends like Hulk Hogan, and what their experience was like going into professional wrestling school. And also, I remember watching, I think it was Maury, watching a few shows of people going on there having to go to pro wrestling school because they wanted to be a wrestler, and he was trying to change their minds because they were at home beating up their kids or family members. So the family members took them to Maury to kind of teach them a lesson. So Maury sent them to pro wrestling boot camp. And that's what I envisioned pro wrestling school was like when I read books, of Hulk Hogan explaining his first day at wrestling school, or, some of the other greats. Um, so I was like, this is not it. I'm kind of more expecting what I'm watching on Maury. And I just stopped. I stopped doing the training, and I just, continued to do these shows as this valet. I wasn't doing anything other than just standing ringside. I wasn't getting physical. There was a storyline plot where I won their women's championship, but because one of the boys actually wrestled her, not me. It was just storyline, nothing but storyline stuff there. So it was a little bit of, I got my feet wet a little. And then MySpace again, Mike Impact emailed me on MySpace and was like, hey, there's a pro wrestling school out in Norwalk, which is about 10 minutes from where you're at. Hey, come train with us. I see that you're in a professional wrestling ring, because I had some photos of me in a ring. So he was like, come train with us. Check it out, and I ended up calling the school, or actually, before I called the school, I did some research on some of the trainers there. And I learned that Chaos, he was on Wrestling Society X, just like months before, or a year, because it was already canceled by the time that I signed up with the school. But I remember seeing him on there as Los Pochos Guapos, or Los Pochos something. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. But there, I saw a lot of the Southern California talent on that show, and I met a lot of these people during the time of me working for MPWA. Um, so I checked out the trainers, and I was like, okay, these guys are pretty cool. And then when I get to the school, I get to actually meet everyone, and it was the orientation. I had called them first to set the orientation, and I told them, hey, I'm looking to train. Is me being who I am going to be a problem? Or I'm trying to fill
Yeah,
out
yeah,
things
yeah.
over the phone, and it was Jezebel. Shout out to Jezebel. She was like, "Who gives a fuck? Fuck them," So I was like, "Okay, let's do this," So I set up the orientation. I actually set up an orientation for about 11 of us, because it was everyone who was trying to learn from the MPWA, or wanted to continue to learn, to expand their repertoire of moves. They also said they were going to go, but no one showed up but me and one other person, Megan. Shout out to Megan, which is Katie Locke. Later on became Katie Locke or no, during that time she was Katie Locke at some other Southern California company. She was already playing a big part, but she went because she was also interested in possibly becoming a wrestler, but she didn't want to become a full-on wrestler. So she didn't sign up. I signed up. I met more of the trainers that I didn't know were there, and I did a research on them when I got home, which was Supreme and Angel. Um, when I did the research, I was like, "Is this?" Um, oh my god! I saw videos of them too, and I was exposed to XPW, and I did see that Chaos was doing stuff for XPW as well. So I was like, oh my God. And holy crap, this is it, this is it. And so while I was there at the training, I saw what these trainers were putting their students through, and we're talking some not hardcore wrestling training, but I'm talking some intense professional wrestling training, some intense conditioning. I mean, they were monsters, and all of them had less than, or the students training had less than 6 months experience. And to me, I was like, wow, they are really good. And there was one girl there, it was Thunder Kitty. Shout out to Thunder Kitty.
Oh, we're gonna talk about her. We're gonna
She
talk about her.
Okay, she was the only girl there, and I was completely impressed, because I'm like, okay, this is her. I'm gonna keep my eye on her, because that this is who I know I'm gonna end up working with. And so I'm gonna keep my eye on her. And she was very impressive. Again, she had limited experience. Then there was a young gentleman there, very young, by the name of Kano, which is Supreme's son. Rest in peace. Kano was, wow. I'm like, this little kid, he's like 12. He was like 12 or even 11, and he's in there kicking some serious ass. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow, and they put on this really good battle royal towards the end of everything. And I showed up, Megan showed up, other people showed up that weren't part of the group that I set up for. Which I felt bad, because I know they expected a whole entire team of people. They had a bunch of chairs, and not all of them were filled. But a bunch of us signed up. About 13 of us signed up. And then slowly every week, they started dropping like flies. And the only two that survived out of that bunch was Seville Alvarez, aka Gino Rivera, and myself are the only two that survived out of class 102. And we are the first ones to sign up literally from the street. We had no experience of nothing. I had no athletic experience. I'm not sure about Gino.
And so even going off of that, because obviously, for those who don't know, you have a tattoo of Santino Brothers on your
Yes.
collarbone, and we're going to talk about that tattoo in a second. But
Okay.
how were you treated in this class with everybody? Because I think you sort of answered it, because it seemed that here you were treated well, and it didn't matter what you are, how you identify. It's all about wrestling, which is sort of how 2020 is in many ways right now. But the reason why I bring it up is that 2008, 2009 was a different era in many ways. So I'm just curious on that front, how you were treated at this school.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Give me 1 second. I gotta find a charger that's actually connected to the wall socket. Okay, hold on.
I can't help but make fun of this.
I don't want to lose you.
This is a great opportunity to bring up what my sponsorship is, everybody. So while we're waiting, I'll just give everybody a quick preview that I run a class on OnlyFans called Comic Book Investing 101. And if you want to learn how to invest in comic books, go to OnlyFans, type in Comic Book Investing 101, and you can sign up for my class. 30 days free. It's $5 a month. Definitely a good way to support me. So while we're waiting, you can definitely check that out. It's like a pre-mid-roll, not prompt, but definitely if you're interested in doing that and going down that route, $5 is the price of your coffee once a day. in reality at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. So feel free to go check that out. I'll put a link down below, everybody. And so while we're waiting, so clearly, and are you back? Yes or
Clearly, I'm
no?
back.
Perfect, perfect. So as I was asking, because obviously you got the tattoo, but
Mhm.
how were you treated in the class? Because it seemed that this was very much almost like it doesn't matter what you are; it matters only if you're a good wrestler or you put in the work.
Yeah. Um, I hope I was treated with respect. I did have a moment or two with a specific guy there. I don't want to say his name, but he knows if he's watching, where he was like, he was a little rough on me, not in the ring necessarily, but he would scold me. Um, and I didn't know how to
Did
take
you
that. I didn't
did
know.
you feel that it had to do with you not being a good wrestler or with his own prejudices?
No, I don't think it didn't have anything to do with prejudice, being prejudiced at all. Like it had nothing to do with that. It was more with patience. Um, he didn't have much patience, but then again, he didn't have much experience training either. But I mean, I love him nonetheless. And I appreciate that moment happened because that only brought us closer. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it only brought us closer, and um a sense of respect on both sides was literally built that moment. That moment. So, but I've never felt like I was treated different because of who I am. I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was, I didn't notice. So so I mean, try harder. You know what I'm saying? But if
so
it
so
was,
so
I didn't notice. I didn't
to,
notice.
to, to talk about the tattoo because that's we were speaking about it a little bit before, but I don't know if that's your only tattoo, but I know
It's
that
not.
that tattoo obviously is very special to you. It's we were speaking about it, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it right now as well. Who's done by, when it was done, and obviously having your logo and them giving you an opportunity and them training you really well. So, what is the story behind that tattoo? Because people want to know that.
So the tattoo, it's the Santino Brothers logo. These are Chaos's eyes, which is the head trainer, the owner and operator of the Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy. The slogan is "Keep the Dream Alive." The slogan was "Dynamite D's last words to Chaos," and I wish I would have, put the slogan on me as well, but I don't have somewhere to put something that big on me. That in a spot that I already have reserved for other stuff. But I do, I do hope one day to add that on here. I am planning to add more to this. Supreme, at some point, there's going to be something that has to do with Supreme added to this, and so forth. At some point, something of every single person that has influenced my career or that has trained me will eventually end up, some type of way on me as a
So
tattoo. As a
where was the tattoo done, and how did it all come about? Because we were speaking
Yeah,
about that
so
before. Because that's a
yeah,
fun story.
so I went to Las Vegas as a little vacation several years ago. This was around the time that I was living in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you guys have been following my career all this time, you guys will remember. I did post it, I did share it. I even had a little video on YouTube when I got the tattoo. And the tattoo was done in Las Vegas by Sin Body, the talented and well rounded um, Sin Body. He hooked me up with this tattoo at his house, when he was out in Vegas. I'm not sure if that's where he's located at now. But during that time, during my vacation, my little staycation over there, I was there for like a week. I got to meet up with him, and he hooked me up, and this is my favorite tattoo. All my tattoos that I have actually mean something except my first one. my first my first one, I was 16 years old, and I was pretty shit faced. So and it's probably not the best choice, or it's not the best choice of a tattoo, but um, it just kind of signifies who I was then, you know?
I would ask, but I don't know if it's appropriate what it
No,
is, and I'm a little scared. So
it's not a big deal. It just on my lower back, lower back, above my lowest part of my back. There's a little slogan called, well, that says "Trust no dog," and then it continues with "Fear no." So I have a bad word on my body.
at least you don't have a Ben Affleck '90s Phoenix tattoo on your back. So we can pick our battles here, everybody. Just
Well,
we can pick our battles, and when people see Ben Affleck shirtless coming out of the water and they see that as a first reaction, their first response is that really Batman? But moving on. But moving on.
okay.
We did bring up Thunder Kitty, and you and Thunder Kitty have a long history with each other.
Yeah,
And
we
so
do.
from training together, teaming up, a loser leaves town match, and several other matches that have just been out there in your entire career. So what is your relationship like with Thunder Kitty? Because Thunder Kitty has done some awesome stuff too
Yeah.
outside of your career, but the two of you do have some history and have done some cool stuff together, cool shit.
Yeah, we've done some pretty cool things together. We've traveled all up and down California. Oh my god, my goodness. Several Las Vegas trips. On the Greyhound, just me and her. I When I shattered my tailbone, she was actually part of that match. Let me see what else. I mean, we did a really cool thing in Vegas at Extreme Thing, which is like this whole, I think it's a skate. I want to say a skate, something that has to do with skateboarding and a bunch of other stuff, like an event, an outdoor event. But they hosted pro wrestling shows, or not them, but Adrenaline Unleashed, which is a now defunct independent professional wrestling company out of Las Vegas. They would put up a show at this place, and they would have thousands and thousands of people watching. So they we did this really cool thing where we were, oh no, it wasn't even Extreme Thing, but it was some show in Vegas. I think, was it Extreme Thing? It was Adrenaline
Yeah.
Unleashed for sure. Right?
So what was it
Well,
like
no, no,
getting
no,
to?
no, no, no. Wait a minute. Well, I can't remember what company was it. Oh my God, this is crazy. When you work for so many different places, you kind of forget.
You've been
Um,
around though forever.
yeah.
It,
So
it's
it
that
it.
that's the thing that's what I'm really curious about. And we're going to talk about a few more
But
people.
hold on, but hold on. Let me tell you this really cool experience. I gotta get this out. I gotta get this out. But Thunder Kitty and I, okay, we got to stand on this woman who was a stunts woman. She laid down on a bed of nails. And Thunder Kitty and myself stepped on top. We were literally standing on top of her. We both stepped onto her. I'm not sure I can't remember if it was at the same time, but we stepped on top of each other, and I recall holding onto her and hugging her. We're hugging onto each other, trying to stay balanced. And there's like all these people are completely amazed. Um, I mean, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was one of my coolest memories of Thunder Kitty. But I had some really cool experiences. Shout out to her again. I'm very proud of her. If she's watching this, I'm proud of you. And, she's another one that has accomplished a lot, in her career. And I'm so, so happy. I wish I was where she was at now, you know?
Yeah, and you've been around for 10 plus years at this point, and I think that's something that people forget, and that's why I brought it up earlier on, is that's you're one of the people that's paved paths, and you've gone through several different versions of characters, and one of the matchups that you had was with Christina Von Eerie, and it was very much, if I may say, punk rockish, for lack of
Mhm.
a better word here. And obviously, Christina Von Eerie has done a lot of cool stuff. But what was it like going up against her? Because there's some crazy shit that was in there. Buggy was in there. Buggy Nova, who is one of the undead brides, for those who don't know, and that entire thing. And so that's something that is really, really cool with that. So, what was that entire experience wrestling her and all that stuff?
Well, shout out to both Buggy and Christina. I have a long history with Buggy as well. That's another girl that I got to work with a lot. Um, with Christina, I got to work with Christina. I'm gonna say about 3 times, but I've got to work several shows. I've been on cards with her plenty of times. Working with her has been really cool. She was more experienced during the times that I've got to work with her. The first time I got to work with her, I was probably only in about a year, a little over a year maybe. And that was at an IWL show, which was her and Buggy versus myself and Katana Vera. Shout out to her. Shout out to her. She's another one that I've had some really cool experiences with. Um, but yeah, she was really good. She was really cool to work with. She's a cool chick. Cool chick. Um, Completely different from me. Completely different from me. We really don't have much in common other than maybe like a few of the bands, same bands. But I've never really got to share any like close moments with her other than just working with her and seeing her around, saying hi to her and giving her a hug here and there but I am very happy for her and seeing all that she's accomplished and it's very inspirational to see any woman that comes out of California do their thing and make
And
it
now
on television. It's very inspirational.
And now let's talk about probably one of your most inspirational moments and one of the moments that is a path making moment, and that's with you and Lucky O'Shea.
Oh yes.
And so you had a 2 out of 3 falls match challenging Lucky, and
Hmm.
then you had a rematch, and the Wild Championship or Wild title was on the line. And I believe technically this might not be quote unquote the first championship because of the storyline ballet situation, but this was your first one that you won in wrestling. And I don't know.
Actually, no, no. Well, no, I don't think it was the first one.
Oh, what was the
This was
first
my first.
one?
This was my first American championship. I was already a champion for a lucha libre company in Lancaster, right? Unless I'm mistaken, it could be the other way around. It could be the other way around.
This is a good
But no, I
question. This is a good question, but it still stands that this was one of your first early champion.
it's literally the one. After I won the Wild Championship. That's the championship that got me like a lot of attention. Like once I got my hands on that title belt, a lot of places wanted me. A lot of I
So
started doing stuff in independent wrestling.
this is where we're going. Essentially, is that I don't know if this was the first. This was early on, got you a lot of attention, and obviously this meant something, and it was very much a history-defining moment. So, what was this like winning these two original titles, your two first titles, really, and breaking that and having that notch punched? Because nobody can take that away. what you
No, no,
accomplished.
no,
So
no.
what was that like for you from just a professional wrestling standpoint, and then now looking back? Because I don't know if you realized at the time what type of history you were making.
Yeah. It's mind blowing, like that, which is why I am somewhat, I do get hurt, when I'm overlooked, or someone is talking about the girls and their
And
accomplishments.
that's what we're trying to solve here.
Yeah, yeah. It I don't know. I just don't want my accomplishments to go, to be forgotten, because I was the first to hold a title. I was the first to be on television, but that's not talked about. What's being talked about is of the younger girls, the girls who are actually relevant, and let's not
Diminish.
beat around let's not beat around the bush. They're relevant. I'm not. I left professional wrestling for about a year. And when I left professional wrestling, I think that was probably the biggest mistake, because I had a lot of unfollows. Like, literally, I lost like thousands and thousands and thousands of Twitter followers like overnight once I announced that I was done. Same goes with Facebook and Instagram, and it just, I lost a lot of support. So when I came back into wrestling, people still to this day, I've been back for a few years now, and people still to this day are like, "Oh my God, Amanda's back," and I'm not Amanda anymore. But okay, even when I left wrestling the first time, I wasn't Amanda either. Once I won the AWA Continental Champion, which is a male championship title. Um, I decided to be Mariah Moreno. I wanted to be taken serious as an actual competitor, and not this comedy skit professional wrestler, or this trans comedy wrestler. I wanted to be taken
Yeah.
as a serious threat.
So
Now I'm holding gold that men hold. I'm gonna be wrestling the boys now.
let's talk about this because that wild championship sort of kickstarted this. You were very much in demand.
Yeah.
And then what was that like? Because you're now wrestling and you're wrestling a lot of women and you're wrestling some
Mhm.
guys. But obviously, and fast forward, 2018 was the start that I feel that very much men and women on the indies are treated equally. And we have people
Mhm.
like Solo Darling to thank for that and a few others. But what was that like? Because I think this was around 2012, 2013, I want to
Mhm.
say. And so, what was that like? It being in the locker room and dealing with all that stuff? Because again, you know, a transgender wrestler at that point was, and I'm saying this in the most politically way I could think of, but new and not heard of, for lack of a better word. And then I'm sure there's a better way how to describe it, but I'm trying to figure out the best way how to describe it. So, but I think we get the gist.
Well, at Wild, I did not feel uncomfortable at all, because I was already in talks with the owner before even Wild existed. I was already in talks with him as far as storylines, possibilities, roster. Like, he was already talking to a lot of the girls, months before,
Yeah,
he launched his company. And he did talk about wanting to put the championship on me at some point, which because he admired my work, he loved my work. He saw that I don't want to say I was a like I drew a lot of people, but I had or have or had quite the following, or a really nice following in the SoCal area, especially in LA. So he wanted to bring me on board. He liked what I had to offer, and again, I was really, at that time, I was really cool with Lucky, and she was really good friends with Megan, who is Katie Locke, who was my valet during my time with Wild. Also, I got to work with people that I already had somewhat of a
yeah.
relationship or friendship outside of wrestling, because Megan was a really good friend of mine outside of wrestling. She and I were like this. And then we had like a falling out, and we just kind of stayed at just friends online. um even though I've been wanting to reconnect with her just to see how she's doing and whatnot, I kind of feel like she's been ignoring me. But it is what it is. It's no big deal. So it was. I don't know. I had a great time with Wild. I did. I dropped the championship and I left the company over just some he said she said type of stuff, and I felt it
Bullshit.
was very professional on the owner's part. A few of the other girls, one being one veteran female who I was supposed to wrestle in Las Vegas. What happened was that I made it to the train station, but I missed my train. And the owner was trying to get me to meet him somewhere else, but he wanted me to meet him. He wanted me to backtrack to meet him, and I would have to ride with him all the way to Vegas, with him and his wife all the way to Vegas. Um, so this was, I was looking at what was going to be a 5-6 hour ride versus a 12 or 14 or something, or 12 hour something. Just it was just going to be twice as long. So I was just like, I don't think I'm up for that. If you want, you can come get me. But I'm just not. And I was all just because I missed my train. I was already like done with the day. I was already mad. I was up. I woke up at like 3:30 that morning just to be ready and get ready, and I'm on my way there, and I'm just pissed because something happened on the metro. So I was just like, people want to act crazy on the metro early in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I can't even get off the metro if I wanted to commute on the bus to the Metro Link. So I got stranded. I kind of just ruined that. And when that happened, he was like, "All right, just fine. Just take the day off." And I recall Tara Calloway taking my place that night. Or no, who was it that took my night? Somebody else, because I think I was supposed to wrestle Tara, or so, I don't even remember who was I supposed to wrestle or how was that, but somebody that was involved in it kind of just they messed it. It just became messy. It became this whole he said she said thing, and then divadirt.com or .net somehow ended up in the mix of all of this because I was supposed to do an interview with Diva Dirt,
Oh God.
and which personally I wanted, like I really wanted to so bad, but to be honest, I had no experience. I have not done much in wrestling other than win this women's championship. And here's this like highly in my from what I was watching and seeing, this Diva Dirt was highly respected, and that's what all of us, all of us wrestlers and wrestling fans would go to find out what's going on in the world of women's wrestling, and everything happened so fast after I won that Wild championship. It scared the shit out of me. It really scared the shit out of me because everybody wanted to book Amanda. Everybody wanted to interview Amanda. And I'm like, what the fuck? I even had Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife, okay? His wife wanting to interview me, and I'm the first person that declined an interview at that time in 25 years, the first person to decline an interview with her. And that interview was going to be what was connected was Frisco Flame. I'm not sure if you guys know who that is. Frisco Flame was the one that was trying to connect Maria Shriver to me. He's the one that hit me up and was like, "Hey, Maria Shriver wants to interview you and whatnot." And I was like, "No." Like
Turns Kennedy.
I haven't done anything. What am I going to talk about? I have no athletic experience. I have nothing going on in my life other than I just won this independent women's championship. And what else am I going to talk about? The same thing was happening with Diva Dirt. I was like, what am I going to talk about? But there was this big old mess between Diva Dirt and then Wild and then a few of the other wrestlers, and Nikki the New York Knockout kind of, shed some light as to what was going on. I was like, this is a fucking mess. This is a fucking mess. You know what? I called the promoter or texted him and I told him I can't do this. I gave the championship to Lucky and Lucky returned it to him. I all this is happening too fast and I'm not ready for this kind of drama. I'm not ready for this kind of drama. Mind you, I'm new to wrestling. I'm literally from the streets, so I'm a fighter. And if I get mad, I'm gonna fight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with this because I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm trying to be a professional wrestler. You know, I'm not trying to get involved in none of the he said, she said stuff, which is stuff that I was being warned or I was warned, you know, by my trainers. And this is just what I didn't want to be a part of. So I left Wild because there was just some miscommunication somewhere. There was some he said, she said stuff going on. And I guess I got labeled a flake because I flaked out on Diva Dirt and then I flaked out on defending that women's championship that the day that, you know, that weekend that I ended
Yeah.
up missing my train ride out to Vegas.
And so what happened after a while? Because you still had all that publicity to some degree, but obviously you get labeled a flake, and then reputation effects, and
Well, you know what? It my work, my work spoke for itself. Obviously, I was still out in New York. I was going to Texas just about every other weekend. I was in San Diego just about every other weekend. I was all over California still. And mind you, I'm living out of I don't know, was I think I was I no, I was still in California. I was still in California because in 2012 is when I moved to Phoenix. And I was still, you know, I was still doing my thing. You know, I was still around even after all of that happened. People still were questioning, but you know, they were watching, and Amanda was still making her rounds. She was still committed to her bookings. It was just that, you know, it was just that was just a bump on my road, you know, because you know I was still getting booked after all of that. I was still
yeah.
doing my thing. I was still winning championships after that, you know?
So how are locker rooms responding to you? Because obviously you got attention. You're a good wrestler. People like you. Your following is growing, and you're getting bigger and bigger. And what was that like? Because you're now, in many ways, getting outside of this tiny little bubble, and you're entering a larger sphere.
Well, I mean, everybody was always like, congratulations, you know, like, you know, good job. You're good, you're amazing, good work, good stuff. There was a few people, you know, a few promoters that didn't want to book me because either their show was family friendly, which is completely offensive. You know, if a promoter says
And to
something
give
like
context, to interrupt, let's put a year on this, because I think in 2020 that wouldn't happen.
that, wouldn't happen. No,
So
that's what
so
I'm saying.
what year was this? Just so
This was
that people have an
this
idea of context.
definitely. I got a lot of the no's because it's family friendly or you know whatnot. That was always excuses. That was always the same excuse. And to me, I just took it as okay. That's fine, whatever. It's not a big deal. But I already knew why. I wasn't
Yeah,
born yesterday.
it's
But
not that hard to figure it
the
out.
first 5 years of my career, I dealt with a lot of that. Even though I was high in demand and still getting booked and doing my thing, all the companies that I wanted to work for said no to me. You know, all the companies that I worked hard or I trained hard to notice me said no to me, either because family friendly or
Yeah,
you know, no men on women violence. And again, today that wouldn't be acceptable. You know, it's companies are being shut down for stuff like that. And
equal fights, equal rights, or equal rights, equal fights.
exactly. And
I
there,
forget which it is. It's one or the other.
well, even to this day, those companies probably will not book me. You know, because family friendly, or I don't know, they probably just don't like me. Again, I have a
So
mouth. I don't know.
to even talk about that, because you've been around for a while, and you're one of the forefronts in this. And indie changed, and I don't know the exact date independent wrestling changed, but we now see very much you're an independent wrestler. I mean, this weekend I was watching Black Label Pro, and you had Kylie Ray going up against Alex Shelley. That's a big match, and I don't know if that would have happened 5 years ago on the indie
Mm-hmm.
scene. You have Lufisto going up against Josh Alexander. That's a hell of a match. That's a scary
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
And so, when do you feel that change? Because that's a big thing, and that's something that.
Well, you know what? Like, Lufisto has always been wrestling some of the top. As far as I know, my entire career, she's always been. I'm gonna say a main eventer. As long as I've been around, she's always been a main eventer. She's wrestled some of the biggest names in the business. When I first popped up, she was already doing her thing, to the point where there was a company out in California that would not book no females but her, only her, and they would book her to fight or to wrestle. They would book her against that company's top guys. So for her, she's been on her stuff for many many years, and
Yep.
and and now that you bring her up, I have some mixed feelings about that woman. I have some serious mixed feelings about that woman. I hope someday that she and I can sit down and talk, because I before well, there was something happened. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think it has something to do with a doll that I came out to the ring when I debuted a doll by the name of Crimson, because she had Pegaboo. She had the beautiful Pegaboo. But this was shedded on me by my trainer Supreme. And I don't even think he even knew what was going on. But I remember Supreme when I did the XPW show, when I made my first pay per view. Okay, again, the first to do a pay per view. Um, I spoke with Supreme after, and he was telling me to go home and watch Lufisto. That's his favorite. That's his favorite female wrestler of all time. Go home and watch Lufisto. That's what he told me. So I went home and I watched Lufisto. Um, and so I had to talk with him because something happened where she like blocked me and deleted me from everything, and I had talked with him in person, and I was like, hey, like, your girl doesn't like me. Do you know why? Like, what's going on? Like, we were cool. She used to at me, and now she doesn't. Like, what happened? And he already knew. He told me it had to do something with a doll. Because after I had debuted Crimson, Pegaboo is gone. And Crimson wasn't even a gimmick thing for me at all. It was more of a promotion thing for the dolls, the creator. The creator is Biohazard Babies on Etsy. She's a friend of mine, and she is a wife of a wrestler from XPW. And I was doing nothing but helping her brand, and by bringing I mean not Pega, but by bringing Crimson with me to show people, hey, you guys, go on Etsy and purchase a Biohazard Baby, and these dolls are literally refurbished dolls. She finds dolls in trash cans. She buys them at thrift stores. Wherever she finds a doll, even if it's a doll part on the street, she'll pick it up and she'll create something beautiful. And it was all of these gothic looking baby dolls. So I was just trying to promote her brand. It had nothing to do with trying to step on somebody's toes or anything. And that was just a one-time thing. It wasn't even like Crimson never came out with me to the ring ever again. It was just a one-time thing when I wrestled out in I want to say Austin, Texas. I wrestled Zane Cox. Shout out to Zane Cox. I wrestled Zane Cox, another LGBT wrestler. Um, and I had brought her out with me, and I was just trying to promote a friend's business, nothing more. And I don't even know what happened. I don't know. And with Lufisto, she's such an influence in wrestling. You know, she's such an influence. She has a lot of real good friends in wrestling that, of women that no longer talk to me, and I already feel in my heart that she must have influenced them or said something where there's this big old mess going on with between her and one of the other talented veterans in our business, where it just kind of sheds some light as to why some of the women that I used to, be cool with no longer talk to me. Um, so it is what it is. You know
Well,
what I'm saying? It is
well,
what it is.
well.
But again, if she's watching or somebody's gonna at her with this, I'm sorry if that's the case. I didn't mean to do that. And if I ever said anything on my social media about you, I apologize. And
Well,
that's genuine from the heart.
Well, maybe I could shoot Lufisto because Lufisto's been on this, and I love Lufisto, and Lufisto is
Yes.
awesome. And we had a 40-plus minute shoot on CZW, me and her, and it was
Hmm.
it was breaking down the story piece by piece by piece, and it was amazing. And it was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done because
Yeah.
the first shoot I've ever done interview, 40 minutes on one topic. So I'm more than happy to have both of you on, and we could all talk about women's wrestling and hash this out and put it down, hopefully. But that's another day
You
for
know,
another conversation. More than
that
happy
would
to
be
host that.
nice. That would be nice, but I really want to do this professionally, and I would prefer for it just be me and her.
That's fine. I can make the
Just me and
introduction.
her.
More than
Um,
happy to make the introduction between the two of you, and you guys can hash it
yeah.
out, and we'll put a steel cage, and we'll all just we'll look up a bunch of feeds because I need the money really
She
badly. So anyhow,
she would run right through me. She would run right through me. Are you kidding me?
this is why you bring weapons. We all know how this works. But anyhow, we're obviously joking right now, everybody. For those looking and wanting to retweet this and stir up some beef and whatnot, we're
Nope.
joking. We're joking, and it cannot be
No
taken.
beef. I don't have time to go back and forth on social media. That's why it's like, you know what? I'd rather keep it professionally. I'm not gonna feed the smarks. I'm not gonna feed people with, I already gave them enough right now. And I'm giving them enough because it's like I'm giving them enough. I'm giving it to them because this is real, this is life, and this is what I'm going through, and has been my experience in wrestling, and that's where I'm gonna leave it.
and
Again, no disrespect to her.
yeah.
I admire her work. Again, my trainer Supreme was like, "Go watch Lufisto." You know,
So tabling that, I do want to bring up another position that you also had as an accomplishment, and that's the Luna Valcon Memorial Lunacy Cup. You've been in a few of them.
that's not the way you pronounce her last name.
Okay, I'm going to stand corrected. I clearly
And
do not have any idea how to pronounce this. And I'm getting the stop
I
right
believe
there.
I believe it's Vashon or Vashon. It's not pronounced the way it's spelled.
Clearly, clearly.
Let's just say Luna. Let's just say Luna because I love Luna. She is one of my
So,
favorite
yeah.
wrestlers. She. I mean, that accomplishment for me is one of my
let's
favorites.
let's back up for
Uh,
a second because
uh,
what is that cup, and what is that in reference
it's
to?
the
Certain people don't
it's the
know.
okay. It's the Vendetta Pro Wrestling
Yeah.
Lunacy, or Luna Vachon Lunacy Cup. It's the Lunacy Cup. I won the 2012, which is the second ever Luna Vachon Battle Royal. They would have a battle royal every year.
I'll name the
And
people who are in it, so people
I'm
understand.
sorry.
Brittany Wonder, Gold
Yeah,
Digger, Heather Lynn, Nicole Savoy, Peyton Michelle, Reyes, Shelly Martinez, and Tara Calloway were in this. So clearly, if anybody knows wrestling, and you know even half the names in that battle royale, you know that this is some of the best wrestlers. And this was when they were starting. A bunch of them were starting in the business also. So that's something just to throw out there to give credibility. So what was this entire experience like, and having and winning it, and obviously you have a connection to her. to some. Yeah.
I actually had connections with just about all the women there. These are all Southern California ladies. So again, I was already up and down the coast wrestling. So I've already either worked with these women already or I worked on the same card with these women already. So all of them that year in 2012, all of them, we were all cool with each other. Um, I was really good friends with Shelly. I was also really cool with Tara Calloway because that's someone else that I have a long history with.
Yep.
Um, Let me see who.
And Tara's
Ray's
doing
was
some cool
beginning,
stuff.
but I would run into Ray's a lot in Southern California because she also is a SoCal girl. Nicole Savoy was a valet before her wrestling days, and she was already a valet for several years. I had met her um, at the Santino school. Her and I believe Frisco Flame showed up for training one day, and I got to meet her there. Um, Let me see. Oh yeah, Gold Digger was a valet, so we were like, "What do you?" Okay, okay. So we just had to find a really cool spot for her, and um, I got to work with Gold Digger a lot in Los Angeles because I did some ballet work for Steve Payne and a few of the other guys out there. So she was always involved with the luchadors. Um, but again, come on, that is an amazing gimmick, Gold Digger. And
Just the
and
names, just the name.
she's out here with her fur coat, her blonde hair, all her gold. I loved it. I was all for that gimmick.
Sounds like
Um,
you're jealous. A little jealous,
yeah,
right?
yes, I would have totally left to do that gimmick, and even if I were to like, hey, I'm Gold Digger from now on, because she's no longer around, but I still wouldn't want, I that's she's gonna always be Gold Digger, she. She really took that gimmick serious. She always was either teamed up, not teamed up, but she was always with a champion. So, no, whoever had the gold is who Gold Digger was managing that night.
So perfect. It's so perfect.
But I mean, all the girls, Brittany Wonder, that was like the first time I got to work with her. And the only time I think we've done two battle royals. I think we've done a couple battle royals together, but we've never had a chance to actually wrestle one on one. I've been wanting to wrestle with her one on one. She's definitely has got to be the most downest, coolest, mellowest chick in NorCal. Like, because in California we have a couple of down, mellow chicks, and the other one would be Katana Vera. Another one that I have history with.
Oh,
Nikki, the New York Knockout. Shout out to Nikki. Um, Another one I have long history with. She's actually the first. She took me under her wing as far as helping me out and helping me build, my brand and getting my name out there. She took me on the road with her countless of times, like countless. We've been through so much, and um, but wow, Nikki was actually the first Lunacy Cup winner in 2011. Which is pretty cool, and then I got 2012. But that was an amazing experience for sure. I was so happy when the promoter approached me and was like, hey, this is going to be your opportunity and get, give it the best you got. And that was a really good, great experience. I love battle royals. That's my favorite, like I love battle royals. But that was definitely one of the highlights of my career. I will say my most favorite moment is when I was announced on the Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy website as Student of the Month for July. And that to me, when my, come on, like that beats any championship, that beats anything that I've ever done in my career, is when my trainers noticed that I was dedicated and that I'm giving it all at training. And I believe it was July or the month before, June, there was a wrestling show, and it was um not my debut, but it was like one of my first matches, and it was with Lucha, Eva Lucha, which was Santino Brothers, company, like their actual wrestling show.
Yeah.
So their student show basically. And that night I did double duty where I was, managing Angel, and I got my hands wet because Angel's opponent had their manager who was Thunder Kitty. And that was the whole, basically the beginning of she and I, hating each other and wanting to get at each other. So we had a taste of each other, and I obliterated her that night because obviously I'm the stronger one.
Clearly.
Um, I obliterated her that night, but her boys, which was Craze and Pinky Santino, kicked my ass. Pinky Santino, he gave me like two or three power bombs, a few, like he was kicking my ass. Um, and then but before all of that, I already had my own singles match against Nikki, the New York Knockout. So they announced me as July's student of the month. And when I saw that on the website, I would go and check every day. Who's student of the month? Who's student of the month? When are they going to release it? When are they going to release it? And I remember Famous D being a student of the month. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be student of the month too, but I suck. And I think my performance had something to do with me becoming student of the month. And for me, that's I mean, come on, like when you feel that your trainers are noticing your hard work, and they don't even really have to, they're not telling me, they're just telling me good job, good job, good job, but they're telling everybody at the end of the day, good job, and that announcement for me was them sitting me down and telling me good job, and keep it up. And it just kind of, my career ascended after that. My confidence was like out of it, like I felt really good and comfortable with myself in a professional wrestling ring. Thanks to the school, to professional wrestling in a whole, I gained confidence. I wasn't a confident person before wrestling, and before wrestling, I was a meth addict. I had a drug issue, and I cleaned myself up and began my professional wrestling training. So, I was dealing with a lot of struggles during my time with that school, and that was my outlet. Professional wrestling was my outlet to keep my head straight, focus on something that I've wanted all my life, or not all my life, but most of my life. Um, keep my head straight. Don't think about hitting no glass pipe or sniffing anything. So it, I gained a lot. I learned a lot about myself, through wrestling, through Santino's. I'm grateful, which is why I had to do this. I had to this big part of my life.
Yeah, and I really think that thank you for sharing that obviously you had a drug issue. You're not the only wrestler who's had that. There's another
Yeah.
wrestler who's on another show, and he's very open about it. I don't know if you know Effie. Effie
Yeah.
Effie is very open about it, and that is slowly being destigmatized in the wrestling
Wow.
world.
Yeah.
And Effie is a big part of that. He's very open about it. He just openly said it on my show, and we spoke about it very, very openly, and I think it really helps. And so I appreciate you
It does.
saying it here too. And even building off of that student of the month and jumping a little bit, I do want to talk about a few more people that you've wrestled that you have killed it with, and some of them are very scary. And one of the scariest people is Hudson Envy,
Okay.
because Hudson Envy is something else. And then I love Hudson in many, many ways and everything she does. And you've had two matches with her, and a lot of people know who she is. So what was that like going up against her? And I think some of this was in tournament stuff.
It was a tournament. I think both matches that I've had with her were no, was it? Was it? No, I think the second match I had with her was
Yeah.
at the AWS. women's tournament. I believe it was 2014, maybe 14, 15, 16.
Around there,
I
yeah.
want to say 14. I want to say 14. And during that time was probably like the height of my career. I made it to the finals against Candice LeRae that night.
We're going to talk
But
about her.
I pretty much ripped right through every single one of those ladies that night. I was overwhelmed. I was tired after my second match. Um, but I mean, it was an amazing experience. I enjoyed both of my matches working Hudson Envy. She was only in the business about 2 years, 2 years or so during that time, and that girl was a fucking monster. Like
She is. She
you
is.
know, her
She's
accomplishments.
scary.
Yeah, her accomplishments speak for itself. They speak for itself, and she's one of Jesse Hernandez's girls. She made it out to Japan, and I like to say that I influenced her, and she expressed that to me when she and I were actually close, because she and I were close at one point. And then some shit popped off with that girl. So that I don't even want to get into. That I already talked about
So
that.
now let's jump ship to Candice LeRae. And I think
Yeah.
I just found out that Candice LeRae, I think, is 35, and I'm like, holy fuck. How did that happen? And nothing against her age, but I think it's at the time that she was wrestling you, she must have been like 28, 29, or 30.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
doesn't look that. She doesn't move like that. So what the hell is Candice LeRae on?
You know what? She's not on anything. You know what it is? It's just a California thing. I mean, I'm 37.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. She's a petite little thing. She's as tough as they come. Like she is tough. But she's just this little petite thing. She looks so delicate. And I don't know. It was a great time. I had a great time working with her. I got to work with her a few times. A few times, but that was, I think, my first and only singles match I had with her. I think, because I know I had a tag team match with her.
Yeah.
I know I tagged against her, though. It was me and someone else, 3-on-3. There you go, 3-on-3. And I mean, but working with her has been really cool. She, when I first popped up, she was like the it girl, in all of California. She was the golden girl. She still is the golden girl. She paved the way for a lot of the girls that are out there now. And there was a whole different crop of girls when I first came out, when I first popped up, and she was one of the girls that everybody spoke highly about, and she was like the only girl being booked at PWG. So if PWG is booking her, and only her, then that says a lot about her work, her work ethic and who she is as a person. So she was very inspirational. Her the way she moves is amazing. She's a really amazing wrestler, and she has so much more to give. And I'm so fucking happy for her that she is where she's at now, because this girl worked her ass off to get where she's at. She did what she did, and she's continuing to do what she's doing. She's paving the way for a lot of the women out here today, because all these women are all working towards where she's at. We're all aiming to get to where she's at, and all we can do is just right now is follow into her footsteps, and do what she's doing. Hopefully one day we're all there. I hope one day I get to have a match with her, in the WWE. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. She had a great match with Io Shirai, and it was really well done, both on the
Yeah.
technical aspect and even the story aspect, and Johnny being involved, and their entire character development and all that stuff. But that's a whole different discussion. I could break down that ring psychology for 40 minutes straight and still have stuff to talk about. And I may or may not be launching another podcast in January that deals with that. But we're going to table that for right now. And to go the opposite of petite, we got to talk about your street fight with Mickey Knuckles.
Oh wow, yes.
That was a hell of a banger.
Yes, let's. I mean, I've had several run-ins with Mickey Knuckles. My first run-in with her was some company out in LA. It was a false count anywhere. I think it was a false count anywhere, or it wasn't hardcore, but it was like a false count anywhere, or I don't know what was it, because we went out to the parking lot. We were all over the venue. We were everywhere that night. But my she's the one that I had my second pay per view run in with. Also, the first ever women's hardcore match, death match, street fight, whatever, on the West Coast. We've never had women bleed in wrestling before then, which is hence say I'm the hardcore queen of the West Coast, because the queen is always the first. So I had my first run in with her, and it was for LCW out in LA. They had a joint show with Deathmatch Tournament, and it was East Coast versus West Coast. And Balls Mahoney was there. There was so many names that night. So many names. Um, oh my God, Shane Douglas? No, no, it wasn't Shane Douglas. Who else was there? Oh my, I can't even remember. But Balls Mahoney was there. A lot of my trainers, a lot of people that I knew were there. Um, oh my God, I can't even remember. I'm having like a brain fart right now. But anyway, it was an amazing experience working with Mickey Knuckles. We started out in Los Angeles, then that same company, DMT, booked us out in the East Coast in New Jersey. And we had pretty much the same match, or the same stipulations. There you go. But it was even more brutal. And then we had our final run in right outside of St. Louis. It's that state right next door to Missouri. Um, Not Louisiana.
Kansas?
Oh my, no, not Kansas.
We don't know our
Oh,
geography, do we?
Trenton. No, no, that's New Jersey. That's New Jersey. Trenton, New Jersey. That's where I wrestled her on the East Coast. I can't even remember, but it was at Pops, something Pops, some nightclub out there. And in order to wrestle in St. Louis or in the state of Missouri, you had to have a wrestler's license. I didn't get my wrestler's license out in Missouri until a couple years later. So they ran a show outside of St. Louis and some state right next to it, east of Missouri. Um, so anyhow, that was her final match, which was a basically a hardcore casket match. All three bouts I won. The first two bouts weren't necessarily a fair bout because the fans voted. They were trying. The company had this sponsor. I can't remember the company's name, but this sponsor of this new technical stuff. I don't know, where the fans would vote. They would vote. They had like these little control things. Each fan had a little control thing to pretty much vote on who won. Who do they feel won? And obviously in Los Angeles, I was gonna win hands down because I'm that wasn't fair, period. But it is what it is. I won that night because I was already I'm the hometown girl, and LCW was also part of that show that night. So I was already like this, the crowd favorite at LCW. So it just obviously everybody voted for me. So I won that night by a long shot. On the East Coast, it was a tie. It was a tie, so they gave us 5 more minutes, which was scary as fuck. Which was
Yeah.
scary as fuck, but she's a professional. I'm a professional. We took care of each other. And we pretty much we kind of already had a feel for each other. So that was also an experience, which again, the fans voted. I won. But very close. That one was very close. Knock it off. You want a bat? Always works. Um, so So then we did the Midwest, which is St. Louis, the casket match. I won. Again, not fair because it's the bloodthirsty vixen. Obviously, I kind of wanted to be the one going in the casket, to be honest with you. But I mean, working with her, she's definitely my top three, top two, one of my most favorite people to work with because she was willing to do anything, and when I say anything, there was a no, there was never a no. Um, she was ready for anything, and I was ready for anything. I wanted this, and I'm newer to all of this. This is what my first hardcore death match, whatever you want to call it, was with her. First one, second one was with her, and third one was with her. And then fourth one was with Thunder Kitty. That's when the loser leaves, and then there was me and my trainer BC Killer. He kicked my ass in a death match. Um,
and then the Sin
yeah.
Sage stuff.
I'm sorry.
And then the Sin Sage stuff.
Yeah, and the Sage stuff.
Steel cage match, pumpkin death match,
Yeah, I
Texas
this
bull rope.
this was after the Sage Sin stuff was after I already had came back to wrestling. Um, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, go right
Yeah,
ahead.
let's move on over to Sage Sin. So Sage Sin popped up in LCW as a fan, a big support, huge fan. Her and her husband, big fans of wrestling, and they stood out. Sage Sin for sure stood out in the crowd. So after the show, I remember going to her and saying hello to her and introducing myself because I would see her there. I would see her. Um, she's a big support of Supreme and became a real good friend of Supreme. They're family, literally family. Um, so when she first popped up, she became the interview hostess of LCW. And then she ended up becoming an interview hostess at the Santino School. And when she became the hostess at the Santino School, I was already out of California, but I was watching their online showcases that they were doing and keeping tabs. And then I ended up leaving wrestling. I came back to California, already retired from wrestling. But when I came back to California, I was living in the high desert. And then I left there, and then I ended up moving in with Shelly Martinez. So we became roommates. Um, so we were, struggling on how we were going to make ends meet. So she was still wrestling, and then Hood Slam up north ended up booking her, and they had this this pro wrestling, or not this pro wrestling, well, yeah, this pro wrestling show, this show dedicated to drag queens. So they had everybody on the roster dress and drag. So Shelly was like, "Hey, they want to book you. They want to bring you back. Are you down? Are you down?" I was like, "I'm kind of retired from wrestling. I haven't done anything for a while already, and I don't think I want to come back. But again, it was a financial decision because we needed to make ends meet that month. So I went and I did it, and Hood Slam has always been generous, as far as paying me good and taking care of me. Um, so shout out to the Hood Slam family out there. Um, but I mean, it. Oh my God, did I get lost? Oh yeah, so I came back when I saw that. When I went to Hood Slam, I came back, but I wasn't officially back. It was just like a quick little appearance. I just had to pay rent, so so let me just do this. And then I started watching people. Like I started watching the women in California and what they were doing, and I started paying attention to Ray's, and I saw her doing her thing, and she's by this time she's an actual full on wrestler, because when I first left, she was, dabbling in it, but she was a valet more. And then she started dabbling in it and getting more serious with it. So that was like, wow, okay. Then I saw Sage Sin, and she was a full on wrestler, you know, and I saw that she was doing all this hardcore stuff. And then there was Kikyo, you know, Kikyo was up north and she was doing all this hardcore stuff. And I'm just like, where the fuck were these bitches when I was, you know, when I was around and I wanted hardcore wrestling on the West Coast, you know, and it was just me and Mickey Knuckles, and then that was it. There was no more women's hardcore wrestling on the West Coast. So I was like, what the, like, women's matches, you know, like I was just like, fuck, you know. And then I saw them doing their thing, and then Thunder Rosa again. Like when I first left, she was, you know, a year in, and or maybe a year or two in, you know, still a green girl. And when I come back, she's this full fledged wrestler and amazing, you know, amazing. And she inspired me. Thunder Rosa and Sage Sin, both of those girls inspired me to come back into wrestling. Both of those girls inspired me to get gear professionally made. Mind you, I've been in this business for years and I've never had anything professionally made. You know, so um, I said, this is my time, you know, this is my second time around, and I want to show everybody that I'm serious, that I'm more serious than I was before. So here it is, you know, here's Mariah Moreno repackaged, a different look, you know, somewhat the same move set, but again, not the same move set, you know, still the same raw, hardcore, hard style wrestling bitch, but I look different. I'm hotter.
So to talk a little bit about the hardcore stuff, because this obviously you brought hardcore to California. You had the first hardcore match in that state between two women,
Yes.
and you kind of got, you know, a little bit of a nickname and accolades of really swinging the first light tubes around there, which is kind of a joke, and it's not really the same as winning your first championship to some degree, but it's also very cool because I love deathmatch wrestling. I'm a
Well, you know
huge
what?
deathmatch fan.
That accomplishment as the first women's hardcore match on the West Coast is something that I cherish. For me, it's, you know, like, dude, like, come on, like, that's why I'm the hardcore queen of the West Coast. Like, throw whoever you want at me, I'm down. But here's the thing, like, I did it first. You know, at the end of the day, I did it first, and I I love that. You know, I love that. That I love my accomplishments, and I used to never really talk about stuff like that. You know, not until recently. Until recent is when, you know what? Now
So
I'm gonna
why? Because
huh?
this seems so cool. Like for me, I love talking about my first things. I have
Yeah.
a concept that I invented, and every chance I get to talk about it, I talk about it and I shove it down to everybody's throat, and I go over the top on it. And it's a great concept that I introduced, and I've been cited in college theses. And you got a young kid who's like 23 inventing something that a 29-year-olds writing their PhD on. It's a little cool
Uh-huh.
when you have that being thrown out, or a 21-year-old. And I made a mistake. I should have gone to a lecture and not to my class, but that's a different discussion. But it seems to me that you've accomplished so much, and that talking about that hardcore stuff and tabling the fact that you're transgender for a second, just the fact that you and Mickey Knuckles brought hardcore and did that match is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So
And you know what? And then I hope that Mickey Knuckles also sees that as a pinnacle in her career, because she brought women's hardcore to the West Coast. She was the queen of the death, or she is the queen of death matches, and I dub her the hardcore godmother, the death match godmother. You know, I dub her that because she is my godmother. She broke me in as far as, you know, deathmatch hardcore wrestling for women on the West Coast, or for me, goes. You know, like, she broke me in. And again, my trainer, Supreme, another one, you know, he broke me in at XPW 10th year anniversary show on pay-per-view. He beat the shit out of me. My other trainer, BC Killer, you know, he beat the shit out of me. They both took care of me. I was completely fine. You know, I did kind of mess myself up at the XPW show, but they took care of me. You know, they asked me. They asked me. They were there like after every move. Are you okay, mija? Are you okay, mija? Yeah. Are you okay, mija? Are you okay, mija? You know what I'm saying? It was always that way, even at training. Even at training, are you okay, mija? So I just hope that was a highlight of her career as well, because it could have been anybody that could have been brought to the West Coast to do that, to accomplish this with me. And I'm very happy and proud and blessed that the promoters brought in Mickey and believed in me, believed in her, because we started something in the West Coast. And a lot of the women that are out there doing things now followed behind. There has been dozens and dozens of hardcore women's matches on the West Coast after that.
And
Like promoters believed in it. Promoters started booking it. And again, I don't want to say if it wasn't for me, but if it wasn't for that match, promoters wouldn't have believed in the women, wouldn't have thought that women can pull off hardcore wrestling on the West Coast, because that wasn't a thing. It was only happening in the Midwest. It was only happening in the East Coast, not on the West Coast.
And to even talk about hardcore, I'm a big IWTV fan, and
Mhm.
ICW No Holds Bar is existing, and they're gaining
Uh-huh.
a lot of traction. They just introduced a whole new concept of pit fighter, which is
Uh-huh.
brilliant, and they love breaking doors. GCW is another one, and
Uh-huh.
GCW is introducing, I think, crowning their women's champion and almost bringing hardcore women's wrestling to the East Coast. And so I don't want to say you are the spark of that, because you are part of the group, though, that in many ways is the spark of that. Because hardcore wrestling with guys has been around a little bit longer
Hmm.
than with women, going back to ECW. But the women's hardcore stuff is a lot newer. And definitely, I
Yeah.
think that on the West Coast and coming out of Cali has helped a lot. I think coming out of the East Coast in many ways. I don't want to, CCW, even though that somewhat of is a dirty name right now, and their WSU also a little bit dirty with what's going on with them. But I think everybody's an adult that's watching this can separate the promoter from the promotion. Um,
And honestly, I don't even know what's going on. So do you want to fill me in?
Basically, DJ Hyde pretty much repackaged and sold off something. Not him personally, but they basically made it look like softcore porn with WSU. And
Oh.
just it's a repackaging, and obviously those women didn't sign up for that. They expected that their thing would be on DVD and they wouldn't be getting a royalty check. They didn't expect it to be looking like softcore porn. Is the
Wow.
short version of it, or maybe not softcore porn, but a little lesser, but closer to it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
No,
want
no,
to
that makes a lot of
mischaracterize,
sense. And that's some shady stuff there. That's
and
shady.
it's
But
complicated.
just to throw this out there, I don't mind doing soft porn, whatever soft core
Porn.
porn wrestling stuff. You can sexualize me all you want. I just got my body done. I'm ready to bring back the Divas Revolution. I mean, let me do the first bikini bra and panties match back. The- now that I got a body, I'm ready. No, no, that's some shady business, and I'm sorry to the ladies that happened to. But there are women out there that are okay with stuff like that, and maybe they should
There's
have
there's
approached those women.
there's
You
an
know.
entire company called LFC, and
Mhm.
look, they know what they're signing up for, and they're okay with it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I did. There's also Jen Thomas, and Jen Thomas runs Session Girls, so
Shout out to Jen Thomas.
She's been on, and I love
Yeah.
Jen Thomas. And
Yeah.
my point is that it's all transparent. The issue with WSU, for those who are interested, is that it wasn't transparent. It's different if that took place and it was transparent versus something not
Mhm.
being transparent. That's the issue.
Yeah.
It's not
And
wrestling.
I know that. I know how it feels to be done that way. I did Spanish reality TV. And I was depicted oh my goodness, I don't even want to talk about it because it breaks my heart and it hurts my feelings. You know that
I'll
one
take a
little dude.
stab at it. I'll take a stab at it. This is
They
how.
just the editing is fucked up.
Also, they give people a lot of alcohol on set. There's a lot of stuff. If you would like
Yeah.
to know, everybody knows Kelly from WWE. She has spoken about this either on Jericho or another prominent wrestler for like 30 minutes. And she was
Yep.
smart enough to know how all this works. And there you go. So that's been
See,
hashed.
and I thought I was going to be this whole reality TV star, and I thought I was going to share my reality, and it wasn't my reality I was sharing. I was
And
sharing a reality they wanted to give me.
and
You know.
also just to talk about Hana Kimura, I want to say
Mm-hmm. Hana Kimura.
Hana, the Japanese wrestler who committed suicide after being bullied.
Oh my goodness!
I
Yes,
don't know her
yes,
last name. It's slipping me. So I don't mean any disrespect to her,
yeah. Rest in peace to her.
but
Oh,
obviously that was reality tied to
yeah,
it, and that
yeah.
was a major factor in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It can really, it can. That's why I say it breaks my heart, and I'm like, I don't want to even get into details because
Complicated.
yeah, it's really fucking raw. And to anybody out there trying to do reality TV because you watched Bad Girls Club and whatnot, you have no idea what you're in for. Do it. Do it. Go for it. Handle it. But just know that once you sign, you sign. And luckily, I didn't sign. I didn't sign yet. Cancel that shit. I'm not doing no more. Like I walked away. Luckily, I walked away and I didn't get sued. But I had to make sure I had lawyers ready in case some shit popped off. And I talked about it on Twitter where I talked about lawyers or whatnot, and it made me look bad because people thought that I was talking about a wrestling company, and it had nothing to do with wrestling companies. I just couldn't really talk about it at that time. I couldn't say, oh, it was this reality TV stuff that I was doing, and it's shady. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. So never again. I won't do any of that stuff again ever in my life, unless I have control over, unless I have some control and I'm just not being guided. It just no.
And now getting back to wrestling. Because that was a quick detour right there. Important, but quick. Important, but definitely a sharp left. Definitely a sharp left right
it's
there.
it's part it's part of something that molded me into the person I am today. It
So
opened my eyes to a lot of stuff.
the final thing I want to talk about, and I think it's so prevalent of who you are, and it's a pinnacle, is you got to wrestle Nyla Rose, which is my Facebook
Yeah.
profile for those who are interested in finding me on Facebook. The story, quick story, is that she was at a house show as a fan in
Hmm.
DC. It was a all black wrestling house show, and it was arguably one of the best wrestling shows I've ever seen. It was amazing. It was exciting. It was the entire crowd was all popped up. It was in like an art sort of like gallery studio type setting too, which is even crazier to put a wrestling show in the middle of it. Super cool. There was enough space for everybody. This was before COVID hit, and so got to wrestle her at a Matter of Pride, which is at Lucky Chang's in New York City. It's a very
Hmm.
famous drag club slash drag restaurant.
Hmm.
So, what was that like for you and your background in getting to wrestle one of the most prominent transgender wrestlers right now in the spotlight?
Yeah. Um, you know what? It was. Oh my goodness. I wish I could say it was a dream come true. Um, but it wasn't because we only had 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It was just a 10-minute match. It didn't really showcase what she and I could do. Um, or what I wanted to do. I guess you could say.
That's the reaction that a lot of people who have wrestled at a Matter of Pride feel. Billy Dixon's been
Yeah.
on and he said it. you know, other people that I know have said it. So it's not an
Yeah,
uncommon.
I I I don't know what was going on. I just showed up. I got paid in advance. So I showed up. And I wrestled. I wrestled 10 minutes. I was out there for a little over 10 minutes. I mean it. I mean, it was fun meeting her. That was my main goal. Getting out there was to meet her, uh, to meet just basically everybody that was there. There was a few people that I saw there, but I didn't even get to sit down and shake their hand and talk to them. Effie being one. I wanted to sit down and talk to him, and every time I passed him, you know, he was going over his match. So I wasn't able to be like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm Mariah. Nice to meet you. A lot of people I didn't even get to say anything to because they were all busy going over their matches. And then after their matches, a lot of them left because there was WrestleMania stuff going on. Um, so it really like even Rebby Sky was there. Like she showed up. I don't know how long she was there, but she came backstage after the show, and I didn't even recognize her until after I was already gone. And if you're watching Rebby, what's up, girl? Sorry, shout out to you. But it just there was so many people there. I didn't even get to say anything to them. So I hope none of them think that I was being diva or something, but it's just that I was trained to not bother someone who's going over their match. When someone is going over their match, leave them alone. Don't go near them or just walk past them. Bam, unless you are part of that match. And that's the way I want it to. That's the way I like it. I respect it, and I want it for myself too. If I'm going over my match with someone because I have popcorn brain and I have like ADD, please just just stay away. Let me go over my match with my opponent or whatnot. But breaking kayfabe, apparently it doesn't exist, but it is what it is. So it was a really fun experience wrestling her, meeting her. Same thing, Aubrey St. John. I'll just put this out there now. Aubrey St. John and I have been friends this whole entire time that she and I have been at each other's throats on social media. Uh, we would sit there on social media and just talk shit about each other, and everything that I said about her was basically insecurities about myself. So when I talked about her in general was something that I hated about myself. So some people took it serious because fans would attack me, in defense to her. So I would attack them back. I would feed off of it, and no offense to them, it was just part of the gimmick. And she and I were seriously pushing for a match and hoping a promoter would see something in this online feud and would book us because she and I, like, I've been talking to her since MySpace days, and she's been total sweetheart, loving girl ever since then, supportive, and I want nothing but the best for her as she feels for me. And I wanted to wrestle with, I want to wrestle with her. I want to give her a good match, and I want her to be part of my career as well, So just to throw that out there, my beef or the beef with Aubrey St. John and myself was nothing but skits.
Well, I think that's the best place to table your career, your matches. I know we missed a boatload of people, and then it's crazy because you only have less than 100 matches, I think, which is insane.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
I think you have less than like 100 or 120 matches in your entire career.
I have way more than that.
Okay, the cage match
Don't
is wrong.
don't believe what those little wrestling Wikipedia thingies happen, because I'm not doing that. I'm not updating that. I don't know who controls that. There was even some inaccurate information on there. My age was inaccurate for a while. Um, oh my goodness, there was some inaccurate stuff on there. But I mean, they're not including the lucha libre companies that I've worked for. That's not on there. They're not including a lot of the stuff that I've done, and I've done so many lucha libre companies. And why do you laugh?
because I just got served. Like,
What? Who served you?
it's a joke. Don't worry about it.
Okay, okay. So I I've worked for lucha libre companies. I've even went down to Mexico. So another thing, hey, first international. So there's just so many matches that I've had, so many, and I don't know who's keeping count. I lost count a long time ago. Some of the matches I didn't even promote. It just kind of just showed up. Some of my matches were last minute booking or somebody called out. So here comes Mariah to the rescue. A lot of my matches. That's the way that a lot of them happen, especially in Southern California.
Fair enough, fair enough. But I do want to change because at some point we're gonna have to go through a boatload more of stuff because we barely touched upon anything in reality. But I am curious because the hot button issue right now with wrestling, and I've been asking every wrestler, is COVID. Obviously affects a lot of stuff. People's safety. It's a problem. Wear a mask, everybody, please. But moving beyond that, a lot of wrestling shows, and I don't know, Cali is a little bit different than DC, New York, Connecticut, as far as the weather and that stuff. But I know a lot of shows have been conducted on Atlantic City and outside in a ring, and people have been socially distanced, or people have been in a barn for ICW, no holds bar,
Hmm.
and that's a solution when the weather is warmer. But how have you been affected, and where do you think all this stuff is going with COVID and running wrestling shows? Because obviously, you can't really have people together. There's issues of fans getting sick. There's issue of staff because a lot of shows take place either in a firehouse or a bar or a venue, and then there's also the issue of wrestlers getting sick. And the other thing also that I think people don't recognize is that a lot of wrestlers do this not as their full time career, but they might be, a school teacher. They might be,
Yeah.
a construction worker. They,
Shout out to Big Donuts, Big Action from the NYC school teacher.
Logan Easton, and I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to mind. He's a teacher, and I don't think he's going to mind. So, one of the things to understand is that you can be a professional wrestler and be exposed to something and then go and get in the ring. And I'm not so concerned about another wrestler exposing it to a wrestler. I'm more concerned about another wrestler exposing it to a fan, which I think is the worst.
Hmm.
If we had to rank things, because somebody's paying and supporting you and coming to see a show, and then you get them COVID, it's pretty shitty. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious where you see all this going and where you see wrestling going, where you see it evolving to, because you're on the inside and I'm obviously doing a lot of these interviews, but I'm not a wrestler.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an active wrestler at the moment. So I do return back to the ring in a couple of weeks, in 3 weeks. I was supposed to return earlier, well, just this weekend. I was supposed to return, but that show was canceled, which was a memorial show to my dear trainer, rest in peace, Supreme, that Crimson Crown was going to host. They did push it back for May of next year. So there is a company, it's a TV taping that I will be doing later this month in 3 weeks, I believe, in San Diego. I can't give any more information now. It's a TV taping and it's in the San Diego area. That is all. And um, that's going to be in a few weeks. But as
So
far as
so
COVID affecting me, it
yeah.
hasn't really affected me because I was already on the shelf. Because remember, I had gotten some cosmetic work done in January. So I was working at an animal hospital before I got my surgery, and I had left, my job so that I can do so I could do what I got to do. I had to just dropped
You're dealing with
everything.
your
So
life is
yeah,
the
yeah.
simple
I,
answer.
I, I said it was now or never. It's now or never. Let me take care of what I want to do. The price was right, so it was perfect timing. Um, so it didn't really affect me because I wasn't wrestling. And then as I'm recovering, when I came, actually the day that I came back from Tijuana, Mexico, was the day that I saw stuff happening on the news all over Facebook, where I saw, Chinese people falling out in the middle of the street,
Yeah.
and apparently it was COVID. And I was just talking about that on my live earlier today. Like, why wasn't why haven't any of the Americans fall out or fell out that way? Like, none of us are falling out that way, or no one else and anywhere else in the world. There isn't any footage of people falling out like that on the streets. And that was happening in China. So I have mixed feelings as to what's really going on. I don't know. I just know that I'm going to wear my masks. I'm going to wash my hands, and I'm not going to leave my house unless I have to. And it's not because I'm scared. It's not because I have fear or any of that. It's because I live, I have family, and family members are probably high risk, and I'm not going to put anybody in danger. You know what I'm saying? So,
So with as far as wrestling, because I know that, and we're not going to talk about the TV taping, but I'm going to take an assumption, and this isn't prying too much. Usually, TV tapings either have a very small audience or they have no audience,
yeah.
and in particular right now. So I don't, and most companies like WWE can survive if you're doing a TV taping for an AEW or an Impact or a Ring of Honor, or there's several others. Those companies to some degree are healthy and can afford not to, but a lot of indie companies like Primetime really do need that gate, and there's others, and so it's obviously very tricky. And so I'm just curious what you foresee that looking like, especially for small indie companies going
As
forward.
far as primetime goes, I see them being successful. I see that being successful if you guys stop the offer. You know what I'm saying? Apparently, people were watching it for free. So, what's up with that, you guys? What happened to the support? You guys want more wrestling on television. You guys want to see new and fresh faces, but you guys want to get it for free? Come on. Those guys are working their asses off.
Complicated.
I'm sorry?
It's complicated, and it's crazy. It's
I
messed
guess,
up.
that it really sucks that people are trying to, I don't know. It just, people work hard to try to get something done officially, and it's hard for any company in pro wrestling to succeed, period. And especially now with COVID and independent wrestling, it's a lot of companies are not going to return, even though they think that they will. Some of them are not going to return because COVID, this whole thing is going to go on for a while. It's going to change. People are not going, people,
Yeah, yeah.
companies are not going to draw the way they
Even
do
jumping
before.
off of that, because you said that you took a year off and that you lost a lot of followers on Facebook and Twitter, and we're now seeing, and even in the indie comic world, which is I'm very familiar with, and even in the more and more mainstream comic world, you now as a creator need to be very active on social
Yes.
media. And
Yeah.
I would say 5 years ago you needed to be somewhat active, but now we're starting to see a lot of wrestlers with TikTok and cool tweets and engaging with all that stuff. So, what do you foresee wrestling to be on in that realm too? Because that's something that I think is now becoming bigger, and now everybody has to be their own social media manager.
Yeah. Wow. I I am not the biggest social media person or even computer savvy unless it's my work, unless I'm actually working a 9 to 5. Um, but I mean, I try to be interactive with people, especially my fans. I am interactive with them as much as I could be. Especially, I am more interactive with certain ones than I am with others because those certain ones are actually the ones supporting me financially. They're the ones that are actually there at my shows. or they're fans that I actually met in person. If it's someone that I don't know and I never met you and you want to talk about the birds and the bees and the size of my waist, I'm going to ignore you. If you're going to inbox me and tell me how beautiful I am and that you want to bang me or that you're curious or something, I'm going to ignore you. If it has something to do with wrestling, I'm totally down to talk about that, but I mean, yeah, you do have to stay active. You do have to stay active not only with the fans but with even other wrestlers because you know what I'm saying? Even they will just shine you off if you're not active enough. So, um, no, I do see social media being a big part of wrestling. As I used it for my bookings, I used a lot of social media. That's how I interacted with a lot of the promoters. They don't really hit me up in my email, so I kind of just stopped doing the email thing. Just inbox me. That's just how you can get in contact with me. And I currently only have a Twitter, a Facebook, and an Instagram. That is all. Oh, and Snapchat. And Snapchat. So I don't have a TikTok. I don't know what are all these other things people are using, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested in any of that. I don't have enough time for TikTok, to be honest with you, even though I'm sitting at home. I rather I rather do other stuff with my time than to sit on TikTok. Nothing wrong with it because I do enjoy a lot of people's TikToks. I do. But for me, I can't. I don't have the patience, and I don't like editing. I don't like editing, but it is what it is. I do see social media helping wrestling because it is a voice for wrestling. Because again, I wouldn't have got into pro wrestling if it wasn't for MySpace. And again, that's social media. So, that's where we're at. That's the beginning of my career was social media exposed me to indie wrestling. I had no idea indie wrestling existed. I thought it was just WWE and Impact Wrestling or TNA at the time. And the companies that were in Mexico. I think that was it, the beginning and the end. Like so once I got introduced to the world of MySpace, which I was so anti MySpace, by the way, my brother could tell. I was like so anti because again, I'm not computer savvy. So I was like, no, no. And then I started seeing, my friends' MySpace and seeing all my friends on there and then checking out their MySpaces and seeing that they were able to actually decorate and design it like an actual website. They were able to upload photos, music, gifts, and all this cool stuff. So I was like, oh my God, I'm missing out on all of this. So I made my MySpace. I added all my friends, and obviously I had my best friends on my top eight. And then I was exposed to the whole world of indie wrestling, and there you have it. So social media is here to stay as far as pro wrestling. Well, as far as in the world of pro wrestling, because it's a platform for us to communicate with each other. Not only that, we get to communicate with the fans. Again, social media has been a way that I'm able to make money for myself, especially during these times. So they help each other out. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I
and,
hope it doesn't go anywhere.
and speaking of all this, because we're about to wrap up, but where can people find you on social media? You have a Twitter, you have a Facebook page, you have an Instagram, and then I'm going to take a leap of faith here because everybody's got it now. Where can people get merch? Because that's the big thing, and that's kind of the big wrestling thing right now. So
Okay,
where?
I actually am working on getting you guys 8x10s because a lot of the gentlemen have been requesting 8x10s of my recent photos that I've been taking. Um, So I am gonna jump on those ASAP, but I need to find a professional photographer with the whole enchilada to get me some really nice photos in my wrestling gear so that I can have actual wrestling gear photos and I can have my lingerie shoot photos for sale for everyone. But I used to do the merch thing, and nobody would buy my stuff. It was so discouraging and so heartbreaking. I would have so much support, and I would probably sell like two or three 8x10s. So I kind of just gave up on the 8x10s. I gave up on the t-shirts. I actually had a wrestler make t-shirts for me, and I was supposed to go to Mexico. I was supposed to wrestle over Perros del Mod several years ago, and I had some T-shirts made for that show, and these T-shirts came out crappy. I'm not gonna say the person's name who made those T-shirts, but that bitch still owes me $300.
So messed up as well. So where
So,
can people find you? Where can people
you,
find you? I don't know what to
uh,
say to this. I don't know what to
yeah,
say to this, people.
he
Like,
still
like,
owes me
like,
$300. And you know what? I never even talked about it. I don't care. It's water under the bridge. It's over.
well, you're probably a better person
So
than me on that because if somebody owes me $1, I hold it for like 10 years until I get it back. So clearly,
no, no, because I just if I wanted my money back, I'd get my money back. I
so
would get my money back, and she knows I would get my money back. I don't play that shit.
so
But
so.
what it is, no, where you guys can find me is you guys can just Google Bloodthirsty Vixen social media, Bloodthirsty Vixen on Facebook, on Twitter. Mariah, is it is it Mariah underscore Moreno 82 on Instagram, or just Google Mariah Moreno on Instagram? There's only one me.
So there you have it, everybody. Go follow her
Yeah,
on.
just Google Bloodthirsty Vixen. And I know some people are gonna shit on me for saying go Google, but if you really, 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 really want to follow me or support me, you're gonna do that for me. And if you do that for me, make sure you inbox me and tell me that we sent you from here, so I can send some love to you.
There you go. You got your call of action, everybody. So that's what you're supposed to do. Go follow Mariah Moreno on social media. Google it. It's simple. Bloodthirsty Vixen will bring you also there. And I've been saying this with every single interview. You gotta support indie wrestling. There's a million ways how to support. You gotta watch your favorite shows. You gotta watch your favorite wrestlers. You got to tweet at them. You got to engage with them. If you see them wrestling, tweet at them. It means so much. And that's so important. And clearly, she's working on some 8x10s and some cool stuff, and that's coming soon. And if you like that stuff, please go buy it from her because that's money in her pocket and times are tough. And you're going to be happy because you're going to get a great product. And she's going to be happy because she's getting money and everybody wins here. But again, times are tough right now. And if you're concerned about the future and you're taking care of yourself or your family or your significant other, or you just want to figure out what's going on and wait till the dust settles, please take care of yourself. Don't put your money at risk with anything until you make sure you're okay. But social media is free. And
Yes.
there's no excuse anymore because it is free. And the only excuse you have is if you don't have electricity or internet. And if that's the case, please contact me because there's a business opportunity because you're watching this and seeing it and you have some technology and I want it because I like money and there's a business opportunity so that we can license this technology out there to somebody. I will make a lot of money. You will make a lot of money if you have this technology. You obviously are using this technology, so you can message me, and then you could actually buy internet and electricity with the money you make off of this technology, and thus you solved your problem, and you could go support an indie wrestler. That's the
And you know
only
what? You know what?
excuse.
Now that you bring that up, that's what I do with some of my OnlyFans money. I buy wrestlers T-shirts. I have I have a stack full of shirts over there that I plan on shooting with, and to lure the fans to go buy these wrestlers T-shirts. Here's something else that I need you guys to support. Okay. Support LGBT wrestling, you guys. Support it. We need you guys.
Anything else you want to support? Floor is yours.
Yes. Will you go and subscribe to my OnlyFans? OnlyFans/forward nothing but love, all one word. There's no porn on there, so let me just let you know now. There's no porn. There's just very scandalous photos of me in lingerie. That is all. Maybe a nip slip or two. Um, and again, it's all because I need to make ends meet. That is all, you guys. It's not because I'm trying to pursue a porn career or anything like that. No.
Well, there you have it. OnlyFans, everybody. Go check it out. And I think that's a wrap.
Awesome.